So we believe that the future is going to be high tech with high touch.
Welcome to the Smart Talk series, the show for professionals who want strategies, tips, and real talk about all things PR, marketing, and social media. Your host is Melissa Vella-Williamson, an award-winning, accredited, and nationally recognized PR pro and communication thought leader. And now your host, Melissa Vella-Williamson.
Hello, and welcome to the Smart Talk series. I'm Melissa Vella-Williamson. This season, our focus is on practicing social responsibility. Today, I'm joined by Janet Holliday. Over the last 30 years, there are very few of San Antonio's most prestigious and substantial projects and events that haven't been touched by the expert hand of Janet Holliday. She has grown her company, the CE Group, to offer 6 distinct divisions of experience-based marketing expertise: event and production management, destination management, venue management, national sports and events marketing, integrated communication, and creative services through Goods Collective. Welcome, Janet.
Hi.
Hi there. Tell us a little bit more about your background and the CE Group's focus today.
Well, good morning, Melissa. I'm so happy to be here with you. There's probably so much when you have a company that's 30 years old that I could tell you, but I think it's kind of a good starting point is why we're called CE Group. And CE Group is the marriage of communications and events, thus CE. And that really has been the powerful ingredient that has kept us going all these years, because you can have the most incredible event or experience and it can be memorable and wow, but if you didn't have the right communications, you didn't tell the right story, you didn't have the right message, then it's a missing. So that is really our background of putting communications and events together in a way that really engages and most of all drives people's marketing initiatives.
Awesome. Well, you all are certainly a premier organization doing both of those very important initiatives. But I know event planning has been on everyone's mind, and returning to in-person events has been very topical these days. And I know as we're recording this, we'll be looking at releasing in the fall, and it'll be very interesting to think about where our events are in the fall of 2021. But event planning was already really evolving pre-COVID, and it's shifted so much since the pandemic hit. How would you describe what event planning has become like now, Janet?
Well, talk about life turning upside down for so many people. I think, though, one of the things, just to start with, event planning, as you mentioned, has been evolving for a long time. I remember the good old days when I first started that it seemed like weather was the one thing that I was the most worried about, and finding good mariachis. And of course, then 9/11 came along and we spent a great deal of our time really focused on security. You know, we had to do active shooting training and thinking about all those things that made an event very safe. So event planning back then, we spent a little time. We have always been a company of preparedness. I don't think you should say the word event planning without saying being prepared. And but we never had any clue of how we were just on the surface of true health initiatives around our events. So what happened, obviously, is the whole world began to realize, one, could there be live events? We were shut down, and so we all pivoted into virtual and hybrid. But even those events needed a different kind of a mindset around health and safety. So that has really been what we have spent this year and a half on. My team is now we're all pandemic certified advisors. We have gone and gotten lots of extra training. We have written many, many new playbooks and guidelines, even creating a certification to help people make sure that the checklist when they go back into events are in place. So I think just to kind of wrap this kind of piece of this up is that it has been an evolution, and now we're standing at re-entry. and we are back fully engaged. I mean, the pent up demand is so great for live events. So where are we and what does that mean and how have we evolved? I call it a fusion. I call it past, present, future. It means that we are going to continue to have really strong contingency plans. We are going to continue, I think, to bring a higher level of health and safety into it. I think some of the things, the sanitizing, the social distancing, maybe a table of 10 could be just as effective as a table of 8. So we feel we have a much higher level of event practice from going through this. And we're going to bring that into the live events and feel a little bit more well prepared.
Well, the preparedness is a huge part of your world, and it should be of any communication industry professional's world. And we talk about that a lot. And I think that is a part of being socially responsible, is realizing what are the things you can do through your professional work and efforts that make our society a little bit better, make our environments better, and really hone in on, like you said, Janet, how are we doing in terms of security and now health safety? And I know that you mentioned some of the certifications and training your team undertook during this time. So on-site pandemic protocol has been one, and then that pandemic compliance advisor for meeting industry professionals. And I was recently on a PRSA national conference panel for travel and tourism professionals. And the big question has been about the fusion you mentioned, Janet. The question has been, what now and how much virtual do we take with us into the future? So I wondered, in this idea of moving forward in the fusion and with all the training you've had, what part do you think virtual plays now in our future events?
Well, that's certainly a great question. And of course, we'll look back and we'll think we really have it figured out. The reality is the silver linings of this is that we have all learned how incredible some of the high tech, some of the virtual offerings are. And it would be really a shame, I think, to just say that that's done, that we don't want to keep those in place. So we are approaching, because we actually already now are daily doing we're still in the continuum. We're still offering virtual programming, and we're doing hybrid, and we're back to live. So we believe that the future is going to be high tech with high touch, and we're going to figure out how to put that together. So we know, even on some of the meetings that we've had, we have one where the audience is back, but all of our keynote speakers, they are virtual. We have another one where people can opt in, whether they want to participate in person or whether they want to watch it through a live stream. We've done so much now with touchless check-ins. There's just so many things that I think will stay in place. And it's kind of fun right now trying to figure out all of our new platforms, all of our new we have a bigger toolbox, I feel, going back into the live event world.
I think you're absolutely right. It's about increasing that toolbox and adding more options for people. I love the concept of opting in or choosing your own adventure when it comes to events. I do think that in terms of offering events that can be scaled pretty easily or have a lower ticket price for participants, that's very exciting. And it really opens up accessibility across our nation and our world. So I'm loving that part as a silver lining to events. A little bit about recovery, Janet. I know that recovery looks different when we think about travel and tourism and we compare leisure and business. We talked a little bit, I think, about your clients on the business side and what the events will look like in the future for them. But are you experiencing any new needs on the personal or more leisure side of the industry?
Well, certainly everybody is working differently. I think that even, you hear about this daily. We're all coming out of this where people have kind of learned the power of, working from home. Some, they realize that I think life is short. And so I think that, again, the demand right now, we're finding that people are really hungry for relevant, compelling. They want to, sensory, not being able to go out and eat or listen to music. So we feel that right now, honestly, that this is we hope will be sort of a creative renaissance coming out of this, because we know that people are, because they didn't get to explore, they did not get to travel, that we are going to look for those kind of creative ways to make them feel safe, but also we feel like already we're seeing just people want to raise the bar on that kind of experience, spiritual marketing. That's real exciting for us. I think that right now, as we come out, it's not like we're still going to be in recovery. People are having a hard time finding people to come and work. People are redeploying their skills. We're also seeing that during this time, new talent is emerging and new opportunities, new venues have opened, new restaurants have opened. So we feel like it's really going to be not only a time of for us, we feel like recovery, but also for the next year or so, a time of really discovery.
I love that idea of a creative renaissance. And I think you're right. A time of discovery is upon us. And my theme for the year has been restoration. So I see a lot of that for some of the foundation we had in business practices before is starting to be restored. And then there's new opportunities emerging, which is a great segue into what I've been seeing overall as a new trend. Is I'm seeing a mix of two very different feelings and viewpoints, really joy and anxiety, or there's some trepidation in how people are getting back out there, back out to events and experiences. So I was wondering, from your standpoint and expertise, how do we communicate to event goers based on those two very different feelings, the joy of being out there again, and the anxiety that may go along with re-entering in our in-person world?
Yeah, that is certainly what I think we're all struggling with. We're all kind of trying to figure that out. I know for me, like many people, when this first happened, I think none of us could have imagined that this would take the kind of time that it took. I think we all thought we would get back to normal, in a few weeks. Never did we think it would be this. But the truth of it is that I think that, for me, I had to give up trying to get back to normal. I then kind of had to figure out my now normal. And then now I've got to figure out my new normal. And I think that we all have to, I think all of us we're struggling with that. There's a lot of confusion right now. I mean, I think that the pent-up demand that I mentioned is huge. And I think there are people that are so ready to just say this is one and done. But again, as we've seen, the mental health, the anxiety is there. And so, I think we are trying to be sensitive to that. We're trying to lead with a level of kindness and a level of, kind of creating things that feel, safe and supportive. So that's why I think a lot of people do want to kind of ditch the mask and they're ready to get back. But I do think some of the anxiety will be important for us as event professionals to make sure that people do feel that these events are safe, that they can see a presence of security, they can see a sense of cleanliness. So we still want to lead, even though people have moved on, we want to lead with that sort of presence of safety and security, because we think that will help maybe decrease the anxiety. But we're also, again, back to the joy. I think with anything, once people feel that they've stepped into something that is well run, well thought out, that they feel that all the attention to detail. So I'm so grateful that I'm as experienced in event best practice and communication practices as I am, because I feel like right now that is what's going to help, kind of bridge the gap between the joy and the anxiety. And we talk a lot about, like I talked to you about why this for me is different, is that I am a communications professional. And I feel like what's happening right now is that we have to have clear messages. We have to have know before you goes, clear QR codes that people can pull up and read the information. We have to make sure that when we articulate through press releases, when we invite people to public events, private events, that again, we're saying to the people that are so joyful that they are almost not, following any kind of guidelines. We have to temper that. And yet we also have to work really hard to communicate in a way that takes for the people that are anxious to know that they are stepping into something that has their best interest at heart.
You're right, Janet. I think your expertise is serving you so well and your agency so well right now, because with that experience and then the additional training that you've done and you're continuing to do, you can be more of this guiding light on the way forward as we restore and recover our event industry and our experiences as professionals. It's certainly a challenge, but it sounds like you all are really meeting people where they are. And I certainly know as an event goer myself that when I feel like the professionals have things under control and has been thought of and it's been clear communication before the event and during it, what to expect, I can kind of let go and experience it and appreciate the joy of my time there. So that's great. Well, let me ask you, there's been a lot of changes and we covered some of them, but are there any new initiatives or charitable endeavors, things that we can learn from? What good work do you think we should keep with us into the future?
Well, anyone that knows me and knows CE Group knows that I'm so proud that what I've always cared about is not really what I do in business. I care about that, but I care equally as how I do it and what I touch and what I, really giving back to the community. And so I think that I have been so impressed, not only here in my community, but really across the world, at the people that weren't paralyzed, the people that were mobilized, and the generosity that just surfaced, how people knew that there were so many people in need. And you saw the people the lines of the food bank, but you saw the people that were there to serve. And so again, we just immediately, in this kind of overwhelm of COVID, we began to serve. And I know you do that. I know that we have so many examples of that. That right now, I hope that we will not lose out. There was such great humanity and such people just took good care of people. For us, we worked immediately on an initiative with many people on behalf of the restaurants that were so clobbered, and then of course the need at our food bank, and we created this for good to go for good, where people could get a to-go menu and support a restaurant, and then also support the food bank. We supported United Way with a gifting for good program that worked with many, many partners to create gifts where people got things, meaningful gifts that they needed in boxes that they could enjoy at their homes, and at the same time benefit all the needs of United Way. So, I really think that the word relevance, we're seeing already some of our corporate clients that are saying, you know what, maybe instead of, throwing my annual Christmas party, instead I might turn that into an event that benefits a nonprofit. I really see that this trend of purposeful giving, social responsibility, I think that hopefully will again be another one of the bright spots that comes out of it. And that some of the really struggles and the anxieties that people are feeling will kind of dissipate when they realize that if they can meet community needs, that everyone is going to win.
Well said, Janet. I absolutely agree. I think some terms that I've seen being used lately to talk about how we're thinking about our in-person experiences and travel has been meaningful. People are even on the leisure side looking for meaningful travel experiences and ways to help others. So I do hope, as you do, that we expand upon this idea of truly using this time to continue the momentum of togetherness that we saw during the pandemic, the worst parts of the pandemic, and hopefully that's all over with. But truly keeping together as we think about things that we can experience and ways we can help out and add some meaning to our routine as we get settled back into some of the traditional milestones we may celebrate as companies or organizations. Janet, one question I see industry professionals struggling with right now is around the liability or concerns about being liable if an event we host is linked to some type of pandemic outbreak. What are some strategies that you see event planners using to help protect clients from those concerns or liabilities?
Well, obviously, you are touching on this confusing gray area that everybody is grappling with. So certainly you see it as employers are grappling with it, offices are grappling. Certainly the event world is really trying to figure it out. And everyone is trying to lead with the right spirit and not focus so much on the liability. We certainly on many of our events are doing waivers where we have, people are signing waivers saying that they're not holding anyone responsible. Certainly we hate this, but unfortunately there will probably, it's yet to be known, the lawsuits and the things that will play out. If I look at it from that way, all the issues that have happened on cancellation and postponed events. And there's obviously some of this has been really pretty and some of this has been really hard. I mean, some people have worked well together and some people it's turned into harder situations. I think for me, I don't have all the answers. I know that we're all struggling with what we can encourage and what we can mandate. This is the space I'm in with it. One, it speaks to the power and the need for relationships and strong communication. So what I have done is try to take my relationship with my client, whether that client is putting on it's a corporate event or whether it's a big citywide public event. I am trying to work very, very hard to talk about ahead of time all the worst case scenarios. I am trying to make sure that our plans have so much due diligence that we've communicated. We've done all those things that would go unnoticed. If someone came back and said, your event caused COVID to spread, and you had not provided any health measurements, you had not asked people if they showed up with symptoms to not stay at the event. If you had not done any due diligence, that is very different than you've done everything you can. You've communicated ahead of time so many things. Then that makes whatever happens a lot easier to understand when you've put people on notice and you have shown that level of a relationship with your client, with your vendors, with your partners, that there wasn't negligence. So all I can do to continue to want to be in this industry is to show up with a higher level of diligence than ever, a higher level of contingency planning, and a higher level of communication. One of my favorite quotes is an amateur plans for the best and a professional plans for the worst. So that's kind of what I'm saying is, can somebody sue me? Can somebody hold me or my event or my clients responsible? I don't know, but I know that all I can do is what I'm in control of is making sure that I'm leading with responsibility.
I think that's a very helpful answer, Janet. We don't know so many things, and we have been flying through the air while we're building this airplane and experience this all together, but in very different ways. And I think what you brought up about the waiver is helpful. Just a good reminder, there are some steps we can take as professionals to do our due diligence and be prepared. And like you've mentioned before, having as many of the safety, security, cleanliness protocols, keeping that with us. I've already seen some venues or different organizations and experiences where there's not that same kind of tidiness and cleanliness happening. So I am happy to see that continue on in the future. There were some new things I learned about how to keep myself healthy during this. And I hope that all of our colleagues here will continue to help promote that as well as you are doing there. So thank you so much. This has been such a helpful conversation. It's been very eye-opening to think about the future with you, Janet. I also want to ask, and I like to ask all my guests to think about this, what does Smart Talk mean to you?
Well, first of all, thank you for letting me be engaged with Smart Talk. I think you are just such an insightful and smart lady, and I love this platform and I love this audience. I think throughout my journey, actually for so many years, but especially during this, a couple of words really popped in, like voice. Voice has been a word that I had to think about. And so I have tried during this journey to be a voice of my industry, my beloved industry that's been so clobbered across the board, across the world, a part of a big destination management network, a DMC network, and to work with people all over the world. I'm in the Live Events Coalition. And so I have tried to be a voice and to also listen and to talk and to have those hard, real, open conversations. And that's what Smart Talk is. It's about the fact, this reminder that we're in this together, that none of us have all the answers, but we're smart enough to be able to say we don't have all the answers, but maybe we can learn from each other and we can lean on each other. And so that's what Smart Talk is for me, being smart enough to talk to the people who maybe do have added insight, and to, again, know that in this journey going forward, that there is such power through our voices and also through our teamwork and our collaboration.
That's perfect. We're definitely smarter together, Janet. Thanks for pointing that out. What is the best way for our listeners to connect with you, Janet?
Well, I'm still one of those email people, so you can always reach me on my email, janet@cegroupinc.net, and I reach out. I'm engaged in LinkedIn, and I love to hear from people that way. You can kind of follow us through the CE Group platforms. You know, we all are just trying real hard to not only keep the train on the track, but just really figure out how all of us can become even more collaborative and really work even more together to kind of take all this gray that we're living in and turn it into, a much clearer, future. So, please connect with me and keep in touch with me, and always know I appreciate this. I'm very humbled having been in this industry this long, and a lot of humility came out of this past year and a half. And so as much as people may want to learn from me, I'm also daily learning from everybody else.
Well, thank you, Janet, for everything you've done for the industry and for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you. It's been a great conversation.
Thanks to our listeners for joining me for today's episode. We are creating this podcast with you in mind. Leave us a rating or review to share what's been valuable to you. Help us reach more pros by sharing episodes you've learned from, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And as always, think smart and communicate smart. And I'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Smart Talk series. If you learned something or enjoyed our conversation, share it on social media or send to a friend. To learn more about this and other communication topics, visit mvw360.com. That's mvw360.com.